What's up, everybody? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine, rise and shine, rise and shine. They're saying Austin has been caught. Austin Drummond. Oh, snap. Oh, sizzle. Hold on one second, too. Hold on one second, Pippin. Big news. Quadruple homicide. Murder suspect arrested. Am I live? Should be live, right? You guys can see me. Wow. Tennessee. Bragged about his life behind bars, posting pictures. They say this man was living the life when he was previously locked up. I wonder if he'll live the same life again. Good morning, good morning. How you guys doing? This was unexpected. I was unexpected. I was about to jump in and take a shower, and then I saw this, and I was getting tagged. I was like, "Oh man, he has been caught." Wow. Let me see here. Should be getting some official updates. Excuse me. Austin Drummond has been caught. Mm, 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 mm. I knew only it was only a matter of time. Thought the commotion that happened yesterday. I wonder where exactly they caught him. They did do. Let me show you something. They did do this morning. There was a place that was, I think. Oh yeah, City of Jackson put out an alert, and it said the area of Brittle Path Drive and Saddlebrook Drive should immediately shelter in place. The area of Pleasant Plains and Country Club is temporarily blocked off. I'm wondering if that's where it took out. Yeah, no shootout, no shootout. Any live feed? Not yet, not yet. The news just broke out, so give it a minute to see if something pops up. Wow, Drummond, Jackson. Let's see, Dyer County Sheriff. Let's try that. He's caught, and he took a couple of the gang people down with him. Apparently, hell no. Here's some from some of the officials. For immediate release, Sheriff Jeff Box confirms capture of Austin Drummond. Sheriff Jeff Box of the Dyer County office is pleased to confirm that the man responsible for the murder of 4 Dyer County citizens has been captured. Sheriff Box expressed his gratitude to all agencies involved. This will not be achieved without the tireless work and dedication of our local, state, and federal partners. Their commitment to justice and public safety around the clock since Tuesday at 3 p.m. has been invaluable. Okay. The Dyer County Sheriff's Office recognizes the immense pain and suffering experienced by the families and victims during this incredibly difficult time. And this guy shouldn't have been out. He should have never been out. Should have never been out. They said that he was living the life while locked up, man. Let me pull up this article. Actually, I need to get this. Give me a second, actually. Let me launch all the other platforms because I don't think I have notifications. I got one, Mel. I don't think I have notifications. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. Oh, I do have a notification. I'm surprised. Um. Oh yeah. So let me send this out and see what new information we get as well. Huge breaking news. Got caught. Was it? I wonder if he was just out in the open walking. Was he hiding in a house or a shed or a shack or something? Or just out in the woods? Okay. We're watching. His commissary list. There's an article I'm gonna go over in a second here that talked about his previous stint and all the amenities he had. He had alcohol, he had TV, live streaming stuff. He was living the life. I wonder if they're gonna give him the same commodities when he gets locked up again. Living the life. The camouflage. You live in Jackson. If you live in Jackson, you better open up your eyes. You better turn on the computer, the internet. Come out of the basement. I don't know if you guys have basements. Basements over there. Boom, boom. Wow, 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 wow. I want to know what the scene looks like. I want to know what the arrest. They got the arrest video. What was he wearing? Captured. Breaking news. The biggest story right now worldwide. Everybody and their mama has been talking about this story. Groundbreaking. And so now he's been caught. He has been caught. All right, let's get to the article about the. Oops. Let's get to the article about the partying and the booze. This is what crime gives you in the U.S. in the United States. Double or quadruple? Sorry, quadruple. What the hell's that? Oh.
I think there was a measure of both irresponsibility, neglect, and probably some recklessness as well in relation to not just the wardens, but the senior management staff, the captains, the deputy wardens, the lieutenants, and if there's a sergeant structure in the Tennessee State prison system, I don't know offhand. But the reality is they're supposed to have very frequent checks of the cells. They call them shakedowns. They shake down a cell, make sure there's no drugs in there or any contraband. That's part of their policy and protocol.
So he's talking about the lavish life that Austin Drummond was previously living
in the state prison system, as well as the federal prison system, which is probably more stringent, if I had to speculate from the knowledge I have relating to that. But the reality is that getting contraband in has been a timeless concern for management and leadership in the bureaus of prisons, both in the state and the federal system, because there's a lot of ways to compromise. There's a lot of prospective leaks. There's attorneys who come in. There's visitors who come in. There's laundry trucks that come in. There's guards who have been compromised, correction officials who have been compromised and bribed historically. Don't know that that was the fact pattern here. In fact, to my knowledge, there is not an official investigative report, interim or final, as it relates to how this quadruple murder suspect was able to have so much contraband in his cell, including alcohol, Roku, all manner of items that we showed in the photos, and I discovered in the criminal complaint, right? The actual complaint that's filed. So there could have been multiple leaks. Could have been multiple.
Oh, so he had Roku, alcohol, TV,
Live stream here
everything.
so good. Make you want a hand waving yo mama.
Slap your mama. Thank you for the super chat, Brown Sugar. Good morning. Big news. Big news. Wow. Austin Drummond captured.
Multiple ways for the contraband to physically get
Thanks,
into
Unbox.
his cell, which has been happening since the beginning of time. Al Capone, I happen to have a framed photograph of his federal cell back in the 30s. And he had a fancy sofa in there. He had a fancy reading light and a lamp and you know, the accoutrements of that time period, not Roku, you know, not a pizza delivery, but whatever represented relative luxury was in his cell. And that was 100 years ago. So it's been going on since time immemorial. But the way it is mitigated, the way that it's, you know, minimized, don't know if it ever could be eliminated because some items are microscopic that come in, drugs, for instance, is through the shakedowns, through a steady process, protocol, and procedure as it relates to very frequent cell shakedowns, cell turnovers, where basically the officers come in with a supervisor, usually a lieutenant, and they come in and they take the cell apart and they make sure that nothing's hidden in there. Now, that presupposes and precludes the obvious, which is if the correction officers are involved in this in some way, if they've been compromised in any capacity, whether by money or any other horse trading that does occur in the correction system, that, of course,
absolutely scary to think about.
Okay,
and remember,
here we go. We got live
four
stream.
other people put in custody now as well. I understand we've got some video that we can show now of the
big news, guys. Let's go. Hit the like button, share, subscribe.
Around there it is on your screen. This was just
Wake
from
up.
the other night.
Wake up. Wake up.
You can see he's got a weapon there, just sort of wandering up. I mean, eerie to think that someone like that is walking around in a neighborhood.
Yeah, police told us that he was described with having a rifle. He had a brown backpack, that he was dressed in camouflage clothing, but that also this video, it's important to note, was time-stamped for Sunday, August 3rd of 2025 at around 11 o'clock that night. Again, this is video that came given to us by Jackson Police, but it was actually from a nearby church in the area.
Yeah, and again, as I said, they thought he was perhaps out of the area as this manhunt has gone on for several days, but clearly that was not the case. We had a huge law enforcement presence there in the Jackson area yesterday as well.
Here's the picture, baby. You guys wanted the picture, right?
Some thought perhaps they had located him yesterday on Monday. They did not, but today, again, we can say accused quadruple killer Austin Drummond has been found, and he is in custody, really hopefully putting an end to this stage of the hunt for justice now, which really gets in earnest for that family.
Yes, we still have a lot of ways to go within this investigation and within this case, but this, again, as Kevin is mentioning, is a very big first step. What we also can tell you is that we are still asking questions of police. We do have a crew on the way to the scene right now. The TBI is also preparing for a press conference that we will air in its entirety later on this afternoon.
There he is.
We do now have his arrest photo, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. This will give us a clearer picture of maybe the state he was in while he was arrested. This photo from the TBI of Austin Drummond.
That is certainly an eerie thing to take a look at. There was certainly some wondering if he was going to be able to be taken alive, as we saw him walking around with that weapon, certainly primed for some kind of confrontation. But it's good news in terms of getting greater justice and maybe a little more clarity about what may have happened or occurred. That's really the ultimate question right now. You don't want to get too much into the speculation, but obviously when you have a quadruple murder, there's a lot of questions that are going to be asked as to how exactly that situation could come to play. I mean, we could talk about the history of Drummond that has been certainly out in the open, out in public. He was arrested previously as a teenager for an armed robbery back in 2013 when he was, again, just a teenager, was sentenced to about 12, 13 years in prison, got out after about a decade just last year. He'd only been a free man for, I don't know, maybe 10 months or so. And now this incident, it certainly raises a lot of questions about, you know, what rehabilitating was really going on.
Yeah, and what really happened that sparked this whole thing to begin with? We have so many unanswered questions that hopefully we'll find some clarity and some answers to in just a little bit as the investigation now enters into this new phase. What we also can say, too, is that we're working to learn how this arrest was made. We're not sure if a tip led up to this arrest.
That's exactly.
We're not sure if police just stumbled upon him, if someone called them to go and look at someone that was suspicious in the area. We're not sure of those details yet, but we do know that there was a $32,000 reward for his capture.
Yeah.
We'll wait to get information to see if anybody will receive that, if it was a tip that brought investigators to Drummond.
Yeah, certainly there's been a lot of interest in financial incentive as well to locate Drummond. But as we saw the massive SWAT and law enforcement presence throughout this week, there was certainly a lot of resources on display and being put to capturing Drummond. But there are 4 other people who were now in jail and have been arrested, accused of helping Drummond avoid capture. 4 different people who are accused to be accessories after the fact, as the terminology goes. They are Tanaka Brown, Giovante Thomas, Brandon Powell, and De'Ara Sanders. Now, Thomas is in the Madison County Jail. Unrelated charge. You're seeing them now on your screen. Of course, Drummond on the left. Thomas in the Madison County Jail on an unrelated charge. He'll be transferred to the Lake County Jail. He and Powell will be in court on Thursday. Sanders is also being charged with accessory after the fact. If convicted, she could serve up to 6 years in prison. Brown's bond has been set at $250,000, and he is still in custody. I mean, when you have 4 people like that arrested, it certainly lends a little more credence as to how Drummond was able to evade capture here for close to a week.
Yes, this is day 6 of that search. And it's obvious to see with the other people that have been arrested in connection to this case, it's likely to say that Drummond had some kind of help, kind of help and support. And that's what police are alluding with these other charges and with these other people that are now connected to this case. We do want to go ahead and bring in our Leah Williams, who is also live in studio.
For those that don't know, in case you don't know, he murdered 4 people. We covered it a couple times. Relatively pretty big story. I mean, a lot of people were talking about it. I covered it a few times, but I didn't realize that, like, a lot of people, it was like this huge story. And, you know, murdered 4 people, a family of 4, and spared a baby's life and dropped off the baby randomly at a location in front of somebody's lawn, I guess.
Someone saw them drop off the baby in a dark minivan in a car seat, and the baby was left on someone's front yard, and then the car took off. So this was at a stranger's house on Old Highway 20 near the Tigard area. And about an hour later, the department updated the post saying they did identify the baby. They also named Courtney Rose, Matthew Wilson, and Adriana Williams, who we now know were victims in this case, as 3 people they wanted to question about that abandoned baby. Now, later in the evening, the Dyer County Sheriff's Office announced that the baby was a part of the case in Lake County. So again, this was a multi-agency, multi-county investigation. So investigators found 4 people dead on Carrington Road in Tiptonville. Wednesday morning, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation identified those victims again as James Wilson, Braden Williams, Courtney Rose, and Adriana Williams. The TBI confirmed that all of these people were related to the baby. And then on Thursday, the TBI identified Austin Drummond, who they've been searching for days now, as the suspect on this case. He was on Tennessee's most wanted list, and there was a large reward for his capture. But again, he is in custody this morning. They found him earlier this morning. We don't have the details yet on how he was taken into custody or even how he was found. But again, Austin Drummond is in custody. Kevin, Yvonne.
Thank you for that, Leah. Yeah, certainly still a lot of things we're trying to learn here, and we'll continue to find out. We'll be on here for quite a while, gathering as much information as we possibly can. Certainly, I think the big question right now, again, as we were just talking about, what led to this quadruple murder?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of hard to fathom that someone could do something like this. Certainly, especially someone who clearly, you know, had friends in the community, had people that were willing and able to give him assistance after something like this occurring. It kind of, it scares you a little bit.
It does. I mean, this community, 2 different communities really, in Lake County and in Dyer County and in Jackson, people have been very concerned about this case and about what it's done to the community, just heightened the fear of so many people that have been there just trying to wrap their minds about not only the tragedy, but the fact that a man accused of these crimes was still on the streets. So we still have a lot more questions, especially like you were mentioning, Kevin. Why did this happen to begin with? How are all of these people connected? We are waiting still to get all of that on record. We know that the 4 victims are family members, but getting police to connect the dots with how Drummond knew them, if he knew them, how that all happened and worked.
Yeah, there's a complicated web that investigators certainly are still trying to work through at this time. As you're talking about multiple crime scenes, multiple vehicles that were found. Some were taken. I believe one was found with bullet holes. It was taken back earlier. This was, when this investigation first got going. How he was able to get back from Lake County to Jackson. Is that where some of these other arrests came in, where someone was helping him get around?
Helping him out.
It's unclear how any of the movements still at this time. To your point, we're still working to get a lot of those questions answered from investigators. Certainly they'll have more of an update for us later in the afternoon. But the big headline right there, Austin Drummond, accused quadruple murderer out of Dyer County, has been captured and he is in custody. You can see that photo right there. Certainly looks like he was someone that was perhaps living out in the woods out there. I don't know. Don't want to speculate too much, but the good news is
pretty clean being out there in the woods,
literally walking the streets, through dead of night.
Absolutely. This is a photo from the TBI. This is the most recent photo that we have received this morning after the arrest and capture of Austin Drummond. But again, this story has just really paralleled and spanned so many neighborhoods, so many communities, so many people and families that have been on edge, waiting for police to make an arrest in a person they believed is connected to that quadruple homicide and the abandoned baby. All right, our crew that has been en route to the scene, they'll be there in about 15 to 20 minutes. We've just been told by our producers. And so it'll be a good idea for us to see the scene from their point of view and from their perspective. We know that a lot of law enforcement right now are in Jackson, presumably where that arrest took place or nearby it.
Just seeing some of the photos that are coming out from investigators about the amount of police officers, the amount of vehicles that they have on the scene, they've certainly left no stone unturned trying to locate Drummond and where he is. We're thankful for that. But again, we do have a reporter, actually several that are going to be out there. We'll have a lot more coverage on this throughout the day. But right now, we do know Austin Drummond has been captured. Hopefully, when you get him in custody like that, you'll be able to get some information from him as to what exactly led to this series of events. That's kind of shocked the nation a little bit.
Unless he tries to claim some self-defense, so I killed 4
crime
people.
That this gruesome, and then you've got the baby element.
And the baby. What's the speculation? You guys think it was for drugs, drug money? They owed him something, or he was just pissed? Supposedly, this is the amenities that he had previously that they provided this career criminal. A sleuthy sweetheart sent this to me, posted it on her page. Inside of Austin Drummond's prison, they have phones. He had a Nintendo Switch, pizza. He's living better than some of these people. A lot of these people. Phones. No wonder he don't mind going back, I guess. Wow, look at all the snacks on there. Oh, look at all the commissary. Was that from the gang or what? I don't know. Wow, living it up. No wonder. Wow. Hunt's, here again, pizza in there, pizza delivery. Hunt Brothers Pizza, the original or thin crust. Wow. This is what you get in America. You kill people. Well, I don't think at the time he murdered anybody. Now he's murdered people, but was that like a Switch or something? Like gaming controller. He had a TV or a Roku TV. Of course, he has Stephen King there on the counter. Lone Survivor as well, some other book. Damn, look at that. Over here, living it up. Getting pedicures, spa treatments, massages. Wow. All right, okay. Let me get that live feedback. We'll do that live feed. What did I do? I might have closed it. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Yeah, really living it up. So hopefully this time he's actually putting more with less amenities. Here it is.
police have given to us, to all of the media, but it was from a local church in the area.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to see. I mean, it's when you see him walking away, he's got a large rifle there in his hand. You can only imagine if someone just, again, these were churches, someone who happened to just be there custodially or any kind of situation where someone was staying at the church. You've got this accused quadruple murderer sort of walking around just the streets of Jackson. Kind of terrifying to think about, especially for those families. I know everyone in Jackson can breathe a sigh of relief right now that, at least for now, this man is not walking the streets. And this has been a long process. I mean, as we talked about, almost 7 days now since this incident really started. So there's, that's a long time to be out on the streets walking around. And that leads you to think he's got some kind of assistance in being able to stay out of law enforcement's hands for as long as he did. And that's where these other arrests have come in. Again, 4 other people arrested in connection not to the murder, but to the act of aiding and abetting his escape efforts post the alleged crime.
Let's take a look at those other 4 people. 29-year-old Tanaka Brown, Giovante Thomas, 29 years old. And both of those people were arrested and charged with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder. And the other individuals that were charged are De'Ara Sanders and Brandon Powell. Powell is charged with possession of Schedule 6 drugs and criminal conspiracy, while Sanders is charged with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder.
Kind of scary to think about. You'd hope maybe they didn't quite realize what exactly they were getting into. I certainly, what their relationship, don't know his relationship to those people, for one thing. How do they know each other from a long way back? Is this a person that had cultivated those relationships, or these people that just kind of found themselves in a situation and were afraid? And maybe that type of information will come out across the, the various court proceedings that are now going to get into effect. I know, as we talked about, 2 of those are in court on Thursday.
Yes.
And then our Desmond Nugent just was at the courthouse, I believe, yesterday for 2 of those other arrestees there in Northwest Tennessee. Those legal proceedings are going to end up being very separate from this Drummond case, which will now move into a new phase. Yeah.
And while we're talking about charges and people connected, let's run through Drummond's charges, what he's facing so far, and know that this could be changed at any point, where more charges could be added, or maybe not, but this is what we have right now. 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of aggravated kidnapping, 4 counts of felon in possession of a firearm, and 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony.
Yeah, and there's, now that they have him in custody, there certainly is the potential they could add additional charges if they learn any more information, whatever perhaps led to the situation where they all ended up out there, kind of a very rural area, it should be said, there near Tiptonville, where those bodies were discovered was actually very close to the jail that Drummond had previously been incarcerated in. Is there a connection there? These are the questions that I think a lot of people are going to be asking. We'll certainly be asking them here at ABC 24, but that community deserves to know as well. We're going to say,
who knows? Who knows how the ties that gang has in that community. Maybe some of those COs, those cops, those whatever inside of the prison. Maybe that's why he had all those amenities and stuff. Maybe he had connections. Maybe those cops were at the hands and knees of the vice lords and didn't want any problems. Or maybe those cops were getting favors from the vice lords. Who knows, right? A little small town.
Facebook asking for help identifying an abandoned baby.
Let me see.
Deputies say around 3 o'clock that afternoon, they got a call that someone in a car dropped the child off outside in someone's front yard. The child was in their car seat at the time. Now, this happened at a stranger's house on Old Highway 20. Then about an hour later, the department said that they did identify that baby. So once the baby was identified, they looked for the family members. So they named Courtney Rose, Matthew Wilson, and Adriana Williams as 3 people they wanted to question about the case. But of course, now we know that they were victims in this case. So later that evening, the Dyer County Sheriff's Office announced that the the baby was part of that case in Lake County. That's where investigators found 4 people dead on Carrington Road in Tiptonville. And like Kevin said, that's right near the jail. It's pretty much down the street. And then Wednesday morning, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation identified the victims as James Wilson, Braden Williams, Courtney Rose, and Adriana Williams. Again, they were all related to that abandoned baby. Then Thursday, the TBI identified Austin Drummond as the suspect in this case. Last week, 4 people were arrested. That was over the weekend. They also took 2 cars into custody that Drummond was believed to be driving. It was an Audi and a truck. So this all brings us back to today, where Austin Drummond again is in custody. There was a lot of concern, especially from people in Jackson on social media, for their safety, but he has been taken into custody. Kevin, Yvonne?
Leah, thank you so much. I think something that we cannot talk about enough would be the victims of this case, because that is why we are here. So let's take a moment to remember who these people were. 21-year-old James Wilson, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, 39-year-old Courtney Rose, 15-year-old Braden Williams. We know that Wilson and Adriana Williams were the baby's parents, and Rose was Adriana and Brandon Williams' mother. All 4 victims lived in Dyer County.
This is the photos of the baby that was left unharmed, thankfully, on a lawn there. I mean, it's just devastating to think about. This one family, you know.
Yes.
Those of us, the rest of the community, you know, we'll be talking and asking these questions for a while, but then, you know, our lives move forward, and this family, devastated.
Devastated.
I mean, you can't even imagine sort of the pain, the heartbreak. Where do they pick up the pieces, especially if it you know, what was the connection between Drummond and this family?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of speculation about that. It's unknown at this time, exactly confirmed, whether from law enforcement or others, what was the degree that they knew Drummond, how much she was ingratiated into that family or not. It's all just heartbreaking to think about, especially, again, given that he was in prison as recently as last year.
And another thing to really talk about, and we can share only as much as we know. Police have not given too many updates about the baby at this time.
That's true, yeah.
But we do know that the baby is a girl, and she was found safe, and that she is being taken care of at this time by family, law enforcement, people that are connected to this case. But that is all of the information that we have at this time about the baby, other than she is safe.
Yeah, we haven't learned too much about that or too much about the case so far. They've been very hesitant to release information because it has been such an active scene. Obviously, up until just very moments ago, they were looking for Drummond and not trying to get any information out there that may aid him in his escape efforts. Hopefully, over the next hours, days, weeks, they'll be able to be a little more forthcoming with what they know and what they've been able to piece together so far at this time. I understand last week, again, in Lake County, officials with TBI found 4 bodies along Carrington Road in Tiptonville. We're saying these names again. 21-year-old James Wilson, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, 38-year-old Courtney Rose, 15-year-old Braden Williams, and that all one family. Courtney Rose, actually the grandma there of the baby that was found. Braden Williams, I believe her nephew, and then Wilson and Williams were speculated to be in a relationship there. It's just heartbreaking to think about like this.
Yeah, it is. And just know, especially you could see on the graphic that was on your screen, this was a very complicated, wide investigation that involved multiple agencies in Lake County, Dyer County, the TBI, and the FBI. All were helping to figure this out, to solve this, and even Jackson Police as well. Yeah. So you have 5 or 6 different agencies that were working to figure out where Drummond was, to identify him first, then to figure out where he was and to bring him into custody, which they did today.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the questions that I haven't seen to be
we might do something else, guys.
How they were able to zero in on Drummond as the suspect. Relatively quickly. That news came out within a day that they knew Drummond was the man that they were certainly looking for. Again, alleged here still at this time. But
Okay. So we might do a different topic in a minute here. I have to head out like in 30 minutes because I gotta go. Gonna be apartment searching. Well, we're gonna meet with a realtor. But there is something crazy happening right now too that I wanted to cover for a little bit. Just give me a second to set it up. Austin Drummond, I'm sure they're going to have a press conference at some point, whether sooner or later, I don't know, today. But he has been caught Caught. Let's see this.
You know, TBI, you've got national federal police involved. You don't see that too often. That should certainly give you some sense of the scope of not just the investigation, but the crime that we're dealing with here. Again, very significant situation. They were able to confirm, again, the connection between the baby that was found and the bodies being found, the cars that were discovered, multiple crime scenes, a very complicated investigation. And hopefully today we can sort of start to get some answers, I guess.
Some answers and some clarity, right? To see exactly what happened. Because we're giving you a lot of information in real time as we're receiving information.
One other thing, too, they're saying that this might be the guy who caught, who this guy might be getting the reward to capture accused killer Austin. So I guess he made the.
All right. So what's your name?
Oh shoot. Okay. Hold up. They're saying this is the guy that reported Austin Drummond. Got him caught.
Ricardo Contreras. And tell us a little bit about what just happened.
Well, what happened was we are working over here, and we saw the guy walking in the middle of the wood.
Thank you.
And we thought, like, you know, nobody wants to walk in the middle of the wood in the middle of this stuff. So we was kind of like very sure it was the guy. So I called the police immediately when the guy was walking right there, and kind of like give them the location and everything. And they be hearing about, you know, actually I was on the phone when they got here. So and I'm really glad they got it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The hero. Best.
Well,
great job, big dog.
The hero. I just called him, you know. I just called him. They are the heroes. I'm the hero.
The only thing I say about that, you gotta be careful, man, is that, okay, that's great that he called him and reported it. The only thing is that he saw a video. They got his name. This guy, the killer that murdered 4 people, is associated with gang members, vice lords in that community. I wouldn't be publicly be like, yo, this is me. You know? I don't know if he knows that, though. I don't know if he realizes the gang association. I would not be on video. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Exactly. I hope he stays safe. You know, those people, especially those gang people, probably take that very, very serious, even though he's a civilian. So, I don't know.